Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Amy Haynes and I am the Marketing Manager for Communication Products here at Macmillan. I am joined today by my colleague Heather Halter Kimball, who is our Learning Solutions Specialist, and she will be leading us through the demo today. This is the second week in our month-long series this April of brief webinars where we are highlighting some of our favorite digital resources for communication. Everything you'll see today is available in LaunchPad, which is our online platform that delivers an ebook, homework, activities, and other learning resources. In each of these webinars, we're focusing on just one feature in LaunchPad that can help you better engage your students. Heather, as I said, will be leading us through a demo, which should be about 15 minutes or so, and then we will open it up for questions. So our goal here is to make these brief and useful for you. This week's topic is our video assessment program in LaunchPad that is powered by GoReact. This consolidates the tasks of uploading and recording video, writing comments, filling out rubrics, and delivering feedback to students into one seamless environment. So if you are brand new to Macmillan, if you have never seen anything in LaunchPad, welcome. We're glad you're here. And if you've used our books but haven't ventured into the digital realm, or maybe you've used LaunchPad a little but you haven't had time to explore all of the features, we hope that you might learn something new. So there should be something here for everybody. Before I pass things over to Heather, I want to go over just a couple housekeeping items for using this GoToWebinar platform. So this is the attendee control panel that you should see on your own computer desktop in the upper right corner. So by default, you've been connected using your computer speaker system. So if you can hear us, you should be all set. But if you would prefer to join over the phone, you just need to come up here and click this phone call button, and then a new window will pop up with the phone number that you need to dial. So feel free to adjust according to your preferences. You may also notice that you are automatically muted. That's a setting just to eliminate background noise. We can easily unmute you when we open things up for questions. And just a couple other ways you can engage with us. You can use the raise hands feature, which is along the bottom of this little kind of tag on the upper left corner of your control panel. It looks like a hand. And if you click that, I will get a little notification and I can unmute you if you'd like to say something or if you need anything else. And then at any time while we're on this webinar, you can use this questions panel, which is on the bottom of your attendee control panel. You just type in your question, hit send. I will be monitoring those. So I will either type an answer back to you, or I'll hold it until we open it up if it makes sense for the larger group to hear the question as well. And with that, I will pass things over to Heather.
All right, thanks Amy for that introduction. Again, to everybody, welcome to our webinar series. As Amy said, some of you may already be familiar with LaunchPad. Some of you maybe haven't checked it out yet. You're new to Macmillan. You haven't used it for any number of reasons. That's totally okay. What we want to do today then is focus on just one particular aspect of LaunchPad. If you like it, give it a try either this fall or, quite frankly, there's still time in the spring semester if you wanted to test it out there. Today, the feature we're going to focus on is our GoReact video assessment powered by, our video assessment powered by GoReact. There we go. Again, my name is Heather Halter, and I'm your Learning Solutions Specialist for Communication with Macmillan, meaning I provide training and pedagogical support for instructors using our supplemental media products. Before coming to Macmillan, I received my master's in communication from University of Central Florida, where I actually wrote my thesis on using social media in the classroom. So this idea of using technology while teaching has been a passion of mine for years. After that, I taught public speaking for 5 years, face-to-face, hybrid, online courses. And most recently, actually, of course, I used media myself while teaching. While I was the course director at Full Sail University, I led my department's implementation of Speech Class, which was the predecessor to LaunchPad. Now, for the past 5.5 years, my job has been to help instructors use LaunchPad and our media resources. So it's a pretty great gig. Today what I want to look at is, again, Macmillan's video assessment program within LaunchPad, which is powered by GoReact. What we're going to do is we'll take a chance to see it in action. We're going to take a look at the real-time feedback, the powerful formats, which all lead to meaningful engagement with your students. And then we'll spend some time getting ideas for the assignments that you can do with this. Worth noting that this is available in all of our communication texts for public speaking, intro or human communication, interpersonal, and mass communication. And if you want to learn a little bit more about this, I'm happy to schedule a one-on-one session with you, and we'll talk about how you can do that at the end. Before I jump into anything, though, I do want to give you guys a very quick overview of LaunchPad, just in case if you're not familiar with it at all. And again, like I said, it's available in a lot of different LaunchPads. So even though I'm in our one for Speechcraft right now, know that this is available for yours as well. Within LaunchPad, everything is divided up by chapter. So it's really easy for you to come in here, click on a topic, expand it open, and you'll see the contents that we have for that particular chapter. We've got ebook, different activities and exercises, all sorts of quizzing options. And actually the last week of this webinar series, we're going to focus on course-specific LaunchPads as well. So you'll be able to learn more about these if you want to sign up for one of those sessions. But if there's anything in here that you decided you want to check out, maybe you want to show, you want your students to do this video activity, you can just open it up, preview it yourself, and clicking home takes you back to the main page. Now, if this is something you do want your students to do for a grade, all you have to do is click the assign button that shows up when we hover over an activity, pick a due date, assign a point value, and then click assign. And then just like that, the assignment is now ready to go for your students. With that, though, I now want to go ahead and jump on into talking about video assessment. We've been throwing around this word a lot. What exactly is it? Well, video assessment allows for you or your student to upload virtually any video or audio file that may be saved on your computer. You can upload anything found on YouTube, or you can record a video directly into LaunchPad to allow for time-based commenting, marker callouts, rubric grading, and to have a safe, secure spot to distribute student recordings. Let me pause that real quick. Not ready for it. There are similar offerings out there. Lots of different companies offer them. Something like this, maybe it's in your LMS. But personally, I think that ours has a lot more robust functionality and maybe easier to use than a lot of those as well. So as stated previously, I used to teach public speaking and actually used an older version of these tools in my course. Prior to having these, my students would simply upload their video to YouTube, give me a link to watch the video, and then I would type comments in a Word document and email it back to them. And inevitably, someone had their video on private, or so that I couldn't see it, or they put some sort of copyrighted material in it, so it got pulled down. And it was just a ridiculously ineffective way to give my students good feedback on their projects. So these tools proved invaluable to me. Online students would record themselves giving a presentation, they'd upload it. From here, I can add comments and fill out a rubric just like I would for my face-to-face on campus students, but with the added benefit of being able to target my comments to a specific part of their presentation. Worth noting that, of course, there's many other options besides uploading and grading speeches, which we'll take a look in a minute. But what I do have up on the screen right now is a sample speech from a sample student, which, full disclosure, is actually me. If that picture looks familiar, that's why. But what I've done is I've added a video, and we're going to see how these time-based comments work. I hope there's not going to be any lag, but there might be, just as a heads up. Know that that's not in LaunchPad. That's just because of this web platform that we're hosting through. But I'm going to click play on my video. I've got it on mute because we don't really need to hear what I'm talking about. But as we reach a particular point in the video, you see all these comments over on the right-hand side of the page. And as we reach a particular part of the speech where I left a comment, the comment highlights and it also shows up as little text right below the video as well. This is how you're giving your students that targeted feedback. Let's say right here, I just had an excellent source citation. The second I start typing here, the video automatically pauses. I can type my feedback. I click enter. The video resumes, and you can see now that 39 seconds in, there's my comment. Now, when the student comes back to review their feedback, they're going to know exactly at what point they did a great job with citing sources. Whereas, let's try it again. Need to work on citation. Maybe now the student knows, oh, I didn't do a very great job citing that source. Let me work on that for next time. You can add comments as text, a video, audio file. You can upload anything saved to your computer. You can link to a YouTube video. And you can also do what we call the end note, which allows you to put a larger, more overarching comment that attaches right to the end of this video if you want to have any sort of closing thoughts. Additionally, I'm sure you noticed these bright squares here that keep popping up. These are what we call markers, and these are totally customizable by you. You pick what they mean. And these work well as any sort of comment or feedback that you know you're going to give over and over again. So a good example that I always like to pull up is ums. I simply click on and it again inserts that into my video. Let's say that maybe the student goes on a bit of a tangent and, oh, they kind of lost their place. They've got a lot of ums going on there. We can just insert that same comment over and over again. And so that way, again, when the student comes to review their feedback, they know, oh man, I really spent I had way too many ums. Additionally, all comments and markers are also tracked in this feedback graph at the bottom. Anywhere you see a gray hash represents a comment, and then each of the markers gets its own colored dot as well. So, and we also track the number of times that marker was left. So the student can come back in here and see that she said 15 times, something that may need a little bit of work before the next speech. Now, feedback is great, but we also want to make sure that we're able to give our students a grade on their projects, and that's where the rubric tab comes into play. We'll take a look at these in a little more detail shortly, but they are fully customizable. We have publisher-provided rubrics that you can use as is, or you can choose to edit them, or you can build your own in here from scratch. So if you've already got a rubric you like using, feel free to use that in here. But what's great then for grading is you just have to click on the button of whatever grade you want to assign, and the math is automatically done in here. So when I click, I already posted this grade, but that's okay. Let's unpost and we'll repost it. So when we click post this rubric, this 16 out of 20 then reports back into my LaunchPad gradebook. And worth noting that we do offer what we call integration with various LMS systems, which would then allow the grade from this speech to transfer back into either your Blackboard, Canvas, D2L, or Moodle gradebook. So that's an example of what a sample speech could look like, but of course this works for so much more than just speeches. And for an example of what else this could look like, I'm going to pull up a watch and comment TED Talk assignment that I built in here. Basically what I've done is, as the instructor, I created a comment-only activity. And what happens here is it allows me as the instructor to pull in any video to LaunchPad. In this case, I pulled a TED Talk off of YouTube, and I want my students to watch this video and use it as sort of a video discussion board. So over here, you can see these comments left rather than my instructor account are actually my student account. They can, of course, still leave the time-based comments. They can use the marker sets in here as well. And I set these up so that rather than, again, being public speaking focused, it relates more to the video. Students can insert a marker if maybe they disagree with the point that the person made, or did they agree with it? Or delivery comment, did they do something with their delivery that affected how you're viewing the speech? Maybe they messed something up, maybe they had especially good vocal variety, or it made you more convinced, something like that. And then again, because the rubrics are completely customizable, I have these set up to be more kind of questions that I want them to answer after watching the video. How would you rate the quality of this presentation? You know, rate your agreement with the overall message, and then type their response here. So a lot of different options, and we're going to explore those a little more by looking at how to build an activity in here. Now, like we said at the very start, a lot of items in LaunchPad already live within a particular chapter. But this is going to be an assignment that we're actually adding ourselves. So we're going to navigate over to this Add New button, which lives next to Unassigned. From this list, we're going to select Video Assessment. And let's give this a name. From there, we go to Done Editing, and then click on the name of our video, and our activity will open up in a new tab where it's going to allow us to select all sorts of different options here. The first of which, choose an activity type. Self-submit is where we have the kind of asynchronous communication going on. The students have a presentation they want to submit to you or to peers for grading and feedback. The live event is actually really cool, and it allows you to simultaneously record a student presenting their project while also still using the time-based commenting and rubric grading, but it all happens at the same time. The stimulus allows a participant to submit a video response that is synced with some other piece of media. And the comment only, as we saw with the TED Talk, is where the instructor has a video they want students to watch. And then, of course, they can add comments or markers as you see fit. I'm going to select Self-Submit and click Next. And from here, you can see we've got kind of two different tabs here. The recording side are all the directions that you want your students to have before they present. You can either paste things into the recording instructions. If you've got a Word document or maybe a sample outline or something like that, you can add it as a resource. You can also record a video of yourself speaking, giving the directions if you want. And you can also have students use a slide deck as well. The feedback side of things is what sort of feedback do you want your students to receive and do? Naturally, we do have a peer critique option. So if you do peer evaluations of your assignments, just check that box off so that students can see all their other classmates' videos and add comments. Everybody can add comments by default. You can set up your markers here. Again, because these are customizable, there's not going to be set markers for you. You'll come to this new marker set and then start typing what you want this to be called. Click Enter and go from there. As I said before, under rubrics, we do provide you with several pre-made rubrics. If you're looking in here, rather than seeing this Bedford, Freeman, and Worth, it's going to say the name of your institution, but you can come there and preview our pre-made rubrics. You can also, though, go ahead and edit these by coming to this little pencil, and you can change any of the text in here to whatever it is that you'd like, or add in some new elements from over on the left as well. And you can also choose to use rubrics for both self-evaluation and peer evaluation, or of course one or the other. Everything is totally flexible in here. When we click done, the student is presented with a button that says add video. And so from there, they can choose to either upload any video that they have saved on their computer. They can embed a video from YouTube, or they also have the option to record directly into LaunchPad as well. If they're working on a computer that has a laptop attached, it will turn that on and allow the student to record directly in here. Also worth noting that we do have a mobile app that students can upload videos from as well. We're happy to talk about the app more during the Q&A portion. So now that you've seen all of the different options we have for video assessment, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about some options you have for using this in your course. Of course, public speaking kind of goes without saying. Students can present their speeches, you can grade them there. But of course, we can also use this in human and interpersonal communication courses by creating a self-submit activity. Maybe you ask students to work in groups, record a scripted interaction that illustrates key concepts for the chapter. And what's great about that is once the video is added, students can peer review and critique the effectiveness of that communication transaction. You could create a comment-only activity with a custom marker set where you share a video clip and ask students to identify effective or ineffective verbal and nonverbal cues. Students can add comments to interpret and make suggestions for how the speaker could improve. And lastly, we touched on this, didn't spend a lot of time on it. I'm happy to talk about it more in the Q&A. We do have the live event, which does not have to just apply to speeches. It can be used for any sort of end of semester presentation that students are giving in class. It allows you to easily assess and record the projects as well. Let's not forget about mass communication though. Here you could use the self-submit activity to ask students to submit a video clip that they found, and of course the possibilities are endless there. One idea we had was maybe show how persuasive techniques work in various advertisements, and of course students would use the commenting feature after submitting the video. You can also use comment only. Find a clip from a popular TV show and have students use markers to add feedback to the video. Possibly students could indicate areas where the show reinforces stereotypes and where it might challenge them. Or of course, again, use the self-submit. Students can locate a news or entertainment clip and they could comment on how the story is affected by framing and filming techniques. So a lot of different options here. With that, we looked at video assessment within LaunchPad, which is of course powered by GoReact. And, you know, I think that this can be a really valuable tool regardless of the type of communication course that you're teaching. So hopefully you got a lot out of it. With that, I will pass it back over to Amy, and we would be happy to take your questions at this time.
Thanks, Heather. So I've unmuted the line. If anybody wants to pipe up, please do. I do have a couple of questions that came through in the chat. So I'll go ahead and ask those. And feel free to type if you prefer not to talk. We did have one question, and Heather, I think you touched on this, but wondering about whether the ready-to-go rubrics within the video assessment, if there are some from the publisher.
There are. Let me jump on back into my video activity here. So with the rubrics, oops, sorry, clicked on the wrong button. Let's get rid of the, oh, you know what, no. Let's just do, I'm just gonna have to go to a different assignment. Stand by. But yes, we do have several rubrics that are provided by the publisher. You can use them as is, or you can also choose to edit them as well. So let me remove this one that we added. Okay. So when you're looking at the rubrics, you'll see a tab up at the top. Rather than saying Bedford, Freeman, and Worth, it's going to say the name of your institution. And we do that just because you can share rubrics amongst instructors at the same school. And here you can see that we've provided an impromptu, informative, persuasive, and special occasion rubrics. You can always preview these. If you want to use it, you can select it. And of course, we do have the pencil here where, maybe there's one area in here that you don't cover in your speeches. You can always remove it with the X. You can change some of the wording in here as well, or add in your own rubric elements by dragging these in.
Okay. And then we had one more question, but I know you talked about this, that this can integrate with Canvas and Blackboard, Moodle, and D2L. So just confirming that this all links up.
Definitely. So what happens is the instructor can go into LaunchPad, set up any assignments that you want your students to complete, be it this video assessment or any of the other items in here. And then you can go into your LMS course and set up links out to those activities. Now, the benefit of this to students is that they have a nice seamless way of accessing the resources. It can live alongside any other content you have in there. The students don't have to remember another website or another set of credentials or anything like that. And then the grade that students receive on an activity will transfer back into your LMS gradebook. So it makes it a seamless experience for you as well.
Great. Okay, well, we've just got a couple minutes here left, so go ahead and wrap up. Yes, no more questions in the chat, so we will move on. So here are a few ways that you can follow up on what we've discussed today. If you would like to take a closer look at this video assessment or any other digital resources that we have for communication, as we've mentioned a couple of times, you can set up a time with Heather to have a one-on-one. You can use this website at the top of this slide here, meetme.so/Heather Kimball, and it just goes to a calendar. You pick a date and time that works and set up a meeting. If you want to browse our catalog, you can use the second one, macmillanlearning.com/communication, and that will take you to all of our products organized by course. And then if you would like to learn a little bit more about LaunchPad, our whole platform, you can go to launchpadworks.com. And there's some case studies and videos there you can explore at your leisure. Anything else, if you need to know who your rep is, if you need a desk copy, or you have any other questions, please send me an email, amy.haynes@macmillan.com, there at the bottom. And then I'm happy to always say hi. So then I will make one last plug for the rest of the webinars that we have in this series. Tomorrow we have one more of this same webinar today. We'll be looking at video assessment. And then next week we're looking at building quizzes and tests. The last week we are having some course-specific sessions about resources in LaunchPad. And then you can use this highlighted URL if you'd like to register for any of these. You can also look back at the email you received about this session, or you can email me. Last week we did some sessions on adaptive quizzing, so I can hook you up with the recording for that as well. So thank you for your time today, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Have a great day.